You know, if the Transformers were so good at transforming, you'd think they could have transformed into a good movie by now. Alright, before we get started, as always, a quick thank you to my patron over on Patreon, and if you enjoy the content I make and would like to offer your support, then for as little as $1 a month, you can get your name listed right here at the start of every video. Link to that in the description below. And now, let's get into the actual review. Transformers: Rise of the Beast is the 7th live-action Transformers movie and the first of what is intended to be a new trilogy. It tells the story of the Autobots and their desire to track down a key that they can use to return home, and there's another faction of evil robots who want to use that same key to bring about the end of the world, and then there's 2 human characters who get roped along for the ride. Okay, let me start off by saying that I was never really a biggest fan of really any of the Transformers movies. That is except for Bumblebee. I actually really liked that one a lot, which was why I was actually kind of hoping that I would enjoy this one. And I will say this is definitely the second best Transformers movie to date. But honestly, that's not saying much. While the movie is for the most part watchable, I can't really say it's that good either. Part of that may be because I didn't really grow up with Transformers, so maybe it's just not made for me. But anytime the Transformers would talk to each other, and they're throwing this overly technical exposition at the wall that would probably make sense to fans of this franchise, man, I just didn't care. Not helping matters is that this is a basic story that is so unbelievably generic. It is very easy to see where the story is headed, what the main lesson is going to be, and the Chekhov's guns are so blatant that you know when stuff is going to be brought back and how it's going to be brought back. There's nothing surprising about any of this, which I wouldn't mind if this was just a little bit of mindless escapism. And sometimes the film does manage to hit that mark. There are some cool action scenes every now and then. There's a really fun car chase scene near the beginning of the movie, and the climax can be fun at times. But here's the problem. There's no sense of consequences for the characters' actions. For instance, one character gets taken out very early on, and you know they're going to come back later, so there's no sense of suspense. The stakes in this film just don't feel the least bit real. And if I can't get invested in what's going on, if I don't feel like these characters might actually be in danger, then why should I care about any of the action? The robots aren't really that super interesting either. Bumblebee doesn't do much. Optimus Prime just goes through an arc where he learns that humans aren't really that bad. RC is there. The villains are boring and indistinguishable from each other. Mirage is the only one that I actually felt had a personality in this. But that's the robot side. How are the human characters? Now, the actors they got to play the human characters, like Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback, are not bad actors, but the characters aren't really that interesting either. In fact, I found the human drama in this to be extremely overwrought. I think most people watching a Transformers movie just want to watch robots fighting each other, but instead, this movie spends a good chunk of the first act establishing that the main character's brother is sick and they can't afford his medical bills and he can't find a job, and how the other main character is underappreciated at work and her boss takes all the credit for what she does. And ostensibly by doing so, the film is also trying to work in a commentary about racism in America. Yeah, you're Transformers 7, you don't need to go that hard. The humor in this is also not very good. And I don't mean in the obnoxious way like in many of the Michael Bay movies. I mean, the humor just usually falls flat. And many of these unfunny one-liners have long pauses that are clearly meant to indicate that the audience is supposed to be laughing at what was just said. But there's no laughter, so you're just left with an awkward silence. But occasionally you would get a funny line. Like at one point Mirage talks about how close he and Noah are because he was inside him. But those moments are sadly few and far between. So, yeah, like I said, I have some issues with this film. Now, is this terrible? No. This is nowhere near as soulless as the absolute worst of the Michael Bay Transformers movies. It's just kind of generic and a little boring. But yeah, as I've said with all the other Transformers movies before this, If you've managed to make robots fighting each other boring, you're doing something wrong. Transformers Rise of the Beast gets a half-empty shot. And I guess that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you want to see my early thoughts of any film I watch or to read more of my reviews, make sure to check out my Letterboxd account. The link to that is in the description below. And make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss any upcoming reviews. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.